A dystopian science fiction world that satirizes consumerism with surreal, dreamlike imagery? Strawberry Mansion sounds like a film I'd love on paper, but it sure is held back by odd pacing, a meandering script, some flat acting, and a few questionable visual effects. The film takes place in an Orwellian future where it's mandatory for people to record their dreams. A dream auditor is brought to the house of an old woman, the Strawberry Mansion of the film's title, where she has stored the VHS tapes of dreams throughout her life. She answers the door in a literal tinfoil hat, so she comes off a little crazy at first. She has a pet turtle named Sugar Baby, played by everyone's favorite turtle star, Peanut Butter. The dream auditor protagonist, James Preble, keeps having this dream where he's trapped in a neon pink room. A bearded man in a polyester shirt brings over Captain Kelly's fried chicken and Red Rocket soda, my favorite. Preble wakes up and orders a chicken milkshake from an AI. Fast food restaurants are lingering in the background. The filmmakers wanted to satirize the ubiquitous nature of monopolistic corporations, but it's not visually communicated as well as it could be in this shot. Strawberry Mansion is a great example of a film where there are compelling ideas that the low budget can't always visually accomplish. I've searched around online to find out how much it cost to make this movie, but I couldn't find a definitive amount, only that it was considered a shoestring budget, a micro budget, a tiny budget, a low budget, and no budget. It's funny because if you type Strawberry Mansion budget into Google, it tells you that it's a $20 million film, but Google is wrong. The article that it's referring to says it's essentially $20 million, but with an indie film budget, because a small movie involving this much science fiction and surrealism would usually cost about that much. Strawberry Mansion was shot digitally and transferred to 16mm film stock in post-production, making the film appear as though it was actually shot on film. There's a grainy VHS style that complements the story involving videotapes. This look is appropriate, and I also appreciate the use of stop-motion animation, which I associate with the era of VHS. The skeleton dancing out of the grave is pretty basic looking, but the scene where the auditor's face morphs into chopped meat looks straight out of the 90s, like I'm watching a Tool music video. The 1980s synth soundscape music is appropriate, and though the tone worked with the story of the film, there weren't particular themes or character melodies that stuck with me. Overall, I enjoyed the atmosphere of the music, but it never really came together with the story and the acting to get much of an emotional response out of me. Penny Fuller as the eccentric Arabella Isadora is the most natural performance of the film.
To enter, you must lick the ice cream cone.
The main character is played by Kentucker Audley, who co-wrote and co-directed the film with Albert Bimmy. Bimmy plays the part of the frog waiter and the blue demon. By the way, the look of the frog waiter playing the saxophone is nightmare fuel. There's a lot of nightmare fuel here. If I saw this as a kid, it probably would have terrified me at the time, and then later I would have developed some weird nostalgia for it. This is how I feel about the made-for-TV version of Alice in Wonderland from 1985. However, Strawberry Mansion isn't a children's story. It's at its core a surrealist love story set in a dystopian future. In the first act, the dream auditor is a flat and emotionless character, which makes sense given the cold bureaucracy of his task. Later in the film, his character is supposed to grow deeper, but the acting doesn't reflect it adequately. The third act includes a drawn-out monologue with some bizarre and interesting imagery, but ultimately, it doesn't really get me emotionally invested, even if it includes some interesting ideas with its social commentary. It shocks the viewer with unusual imagery, like a man being blown up into a blimp. They should have known this effect was going to be really difficult to make look good. Strawberry Mansion is only 90 minutes long, but the third act drags, so it feels longer than it is. It's good that it's not any longer because it's already stretching the surrealist premise a little thin by the end. I'm pretty mixed on this one because The setup is interesting to me. Some of the effects and ideas are provocative and engaging, with others being absurd or silly. This isn't going to win over any viewers who don't like surrealism because it's weird for the sake of weird. I can make connections between the dream scenes and the dystopian corporate future, but even still, some of the scenes will come across as weird for the sake of weird. Halfway through the film, a traditional villain is introduced, and he's really over the top and campy.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. She was rather old, so I guess it wasn't terribly surprising.
Throughout the film, Preble witnesses a figure walking around covered in grass. He sees this creature at the beginning of the film before ever arriving at Strawberry Mansion. Later in the film, the young dream version of Bella pulls apart the grass to reveal that the grass monster is in fact Preble himself. The appearances of the grass man and the VHS tape man suggest a transformation towards a more organic and natural existence from the digital surveillance state of the film's reality. In the second half of the film, it shifts focus into a love story between Preble and the young dream Bella, who frees him of his corporate shackles and allows him to dream free of advertisements. The pair wake up on a beach and eventually end up as ingredients on a salad. There's an exposition dump about how the son is the villain.
He was an evil man.
Then, Fried Chicken Nightmare Dude shows back up and is copy and pasted all over the screen. I can't tell how seriously I'm supposed to be taking all of this. It looks like a Tim and Eric skit. The film begins with a mysterious scene in which the auditor must lick some ice cream in order to enter the old woman's house. This is the first scene where I thought maybe this is just weird for the sake of weird. But then there's an extreme close-up of his tongue licking the ice cream, and the film's title flashes on screen along with cool music. I thought, okay, I'll give this film a chance. It has a good sense of style in places. Then we get to the device the auditor uses to watch the dream tapes. It's this ridiculous, blocky, cosplay-looking device with a tube coming out of it. It's so low budget that I kind of love it. Same thing with the tinfoil helmet that Arabella wears. She wears the helmet to keep out the messages of advertisers that are sent into our dreams. The VHS tapes of her dreams are pleasant, containing childhood memories in them. The auditor is looking at items in her dreams that contain a taxable amount. Eventually, our protagonist puts on the tinfoil helmet and battles it out with Fried Chicken Nightmare Dude to escape the neon pink room into the more naturalistic dream world of Isabella. Here he sees a group of figures covered in VHS tape ribbon. He falls in love with the young dream version of Isabella, while the older real version of Isabella dies. Her son is the evil CEO of an advertising company, and he shows up to destroy all of the VHS tapes. Also, this old woman was apparently the only person who has figured out that advertisers are assaulting us in our dreams. So, if Preble dies, the secret dies with him. This is where the movie kind of went off the rails for me. The evil CEO is making clear threats to the main character, who subsequently tries to go back to viewing the VHS tapes and immediately gets knocked out. What a dumb decision on his part.
My mother is dead. The audit is over.
There's a shot of a zombie man eating fried chicken with his head exploding, and a witch ripping apart VHS tapes. There's something about the dated effects and the intentionally grainy film quality that makes Strawberry Mansion feel unreal. In the next 35 minutes of the movie, Preble is knocked out as the house burns down around him. He has a long dream in which he's trying to save the young version of Bella from a blue demon pirate character. Preble is a captain at sea with a ship of rat sailors. What is this, a children's fantasy story now? He eventually saves Bella, only for her to tell him that he's actually asleep in a burning building and that he needs to wake up to survive, that he should just leave her behind. He doesn't want to do it, but he does it anyway.
You have to turn yourself into a caterpillar.
What?
Finally returning to the man in the pink room, where he's slowly suffocated with neon garbage until Bella comes back to save him and they float away in a magic pink love bubble where they become comets with faces that are flying towards Earth, and as they disintegrate, they end up hitting the strawberry ice cream from the film's opening right before the protagonist's tongue touches it, and this causes him to wake up. Then he goes back home and watches VHS tapes of The Dream Woman. What am I even talking about anymore? I sound like I ate some bad shrooms. I'm not sure how to rate this film. It's definitely brimming with imagination and creativity, but the love story isn't very convincing, so the attempts at poignancy don't really work for me. If you're looking for a film with a bunch of shockingly bizarre, surreal imagery and nothing more, it's gonna keep you entertained. I enjoy watching films with surreal imagery, but I'd prefer a script that is a little more focused. The combination of so many elements, love story, fantasy, dystopian sci-fi social commentary, didn't all fit together like they could have. The characters just weren't built well enough for me. I needed to actually care about this main character and his dream girlfriend, but none of it felt real enough. Sure, it's about dreams, but it still has to feel real. I'm going with a 6 out of 10 because 5 would imply average, and this is anything but average, but it's also flawed. I'd like to see the next project from these filmmakers, as I think there's a lot of raw potential that needs to be ironed out. I'll wrap this up by asking, why is fried chicken the symbol for greedy corporate behavior while ice cream is the symbol for the naturalistic world of Bella? Isn't ice cream also considered junk food? It's weird because after watching this movie I was a little hungry and the only thing in my fridge was fried chicken, which I ate. Even stranger, yesterday I tried for the first time a fried strawberry. And it wasn't bad, but I still prefer my strawberries au naturel.